prishoho va unmulanam tu itaratha Arjuna yoho nabhavyam tokena jiva haranam yadalukikayas Raimasikasya chapada shakato pravrittaha Yad ringatanantaragaten divisprishurva Unmulanam dvitaratha Arjuna yor nabhavyam Okena jiva haranam yadulukikayas Traimasikasya chapada shakato pavrittaha Yad ringatantaragaten divisprishurva Unmulanam dvitaratha Arjuna nabhavyam Okena jiva haranam yadalukikayas Traimasikasya chapada shakato pavrittaha Yad ringatantaragaten divisprishurva Unmulanam dvitaratha Arjuna nabhavyam
Lokena jiva haranam yadalukikayas
Lokena jiva haranam yadalukikayas
Traimasikasya chapada shakato pravrittaha
Traimasikasya chapada shakato pravrittaha
Yaringatantara divis prishurva
Yaringatantaragaten divisprishurva
Unmulanam chitarata junayor nabhavyam
Unmulanam tvitarata Arjuna nabhavyam
Lokena jiva haranang yatulukikayas
Nam yadalukikayas
Traimasikasya chapada shakato pravritaha
Traimasikasya chapada shakato pravrittaha
Yatringatantaragaten divis prishorva
Yaringatantaragaten divisprishurva
Unmulanang tvitaratar tunayor nabhavyam
Unmulanam tvitarata Arjuna nabhavyam
Okena jiva haranam yadulukikayas
Togena jiva haranam yadalukikayas
Raimasikasya chapada shakato pravrittaha
Traimasikasya chapada shakato pravrittaha
Yaringatantara gatena devis prishurva
Yaringatantaragaten divisprishurva
Unmulanam tvitaratarjunayor nabhavyam
Unmulanam tvitarata Arjuna nabhavyam
Tokena jiva haranam yadulukikayas
Tokena jiva haranam yadalukikayas
Traimasikasya chapadashakatopavrittaha
Traimasikasya chapadashakato pravrittaha
Yadringatantaragatina divi sprishorha va
Yaringata taratatena divis pishorva
Unmulanam Twitaratajunayornabhavyam
Unmulanam tvitaratarjunayornabhavyam
Okena jiva harinam yadukulakayas.
Togena jiva haranam yadalukikayas
Traimasikasya chapada sukato pravrittaha
Traimasikasya chapadashakato pavrittaha
Yadringatantaragatam divas prishorva
Yadringatantaragatenas divis prishorva
Umulanam tva itatarya yugayurnabhavyam
Unmulanam tvitaratharjunayornabhavyam. Are there any devotees online that would like to chant? Tokena, by a child. Jivaharanam, killing a living being. Yat, one which. Ulukikayaha, assumed the giant body of a demon. Traimasikasya, of one who is only 3 months old. Cha, also. Pada, by the leg. Shakata abrivitaha, turned over the cart. Yat, one who. Ringata, while crawling. Antaragatena, being overtaken. Divi, high in the sky. Sprishoho, touching. Va, either. Unmulanam, uprooting. Tu, but. Itaratha, anyone else then. Arjuna yoho, of the two Arjuna trees. Nabhavyam, was not possible. Translation: there is no doubt about Lord Krishna's being the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, how was it possible for him to kill a giant demon like Putana when he was just on the lap of his mother? To overturn a cart with his leg when he was only 3 months old? To uproot a pair of Arjuna trees so high that they touched the sky when he was only crawling? All these activities are impossible for anyone other than the Lord himself. Purport: one cannot manufacture a God by one's mental speculation or by numerical votes, as has become a practice for the less intelligent class of men. God is God eternally, and an ordinary living entity is eternally a part and parcel of God. God is one without a second, and the ordinary living entities are many without number. All such living entities are maintained by God himself, and that is the verdict of the Vedic literatures. When Krishna was on the lap of his mother, the demon Putana appeared before his mother and prayed to nurture the child in her lap. Mother Yashoda agreed, and the child was transferred onto the lap of Putana, who was in the garb of a respectable lady. Putana wanted to kill the child by smearing poison on the nipple of her breast. But when everything was complete, the Lord sucked her breast along with her very life of air, and the demon's gigantic body, said to be as long as 6 miles, fell down. But Lord Krishna did not need to expand himself to the length of the she-demon Putana, although he was quite competent to extend himself more than 6 miles long. In his Vamana incarnation, he posed himself as a dwarf Brahmana, but when he took possession of his land promised by Bali Maharaj, he expanded his footstep to the top of the universe, extending over thousands and millions of miles. So it was not very difficult for Krishna to perform a miracle by extending his bodily feature. But he had no desire to do it because of his deep filial love for his mother, Yashoda. If Yashoda had seen Krishna in her lap extending 6 miles to cope with the she-demon Putana, then the natural filial love of Yashoda would have been hurt, because in that way Yashoda would have come to know that her so-called son Krishna was God himself. In the knowledge of the God of Krishna, Yashoda Mayi would have lost the temper of her love for Krishna as a natural mother. But as far as Lord Krishna is concerned, he is God always, either as a natural mother, either as a child on the lap of his mother, or as the coverer of the universe, Vamana Deva. He does not require to become God by undergoing severe penances, although some men think of becoming God in that way. By undergoing severe austerities and penances, one cannot become one or equal with God, but one can attain most of the godly qualities. A living being can attain godly qualities to a large extent, but he cannot become God. Whereas Krishna, without undergoing any type of penance, is God always, either in the lap of his mother or growing up or at any stage of growth. So at the stage of only 3 months, he killed the Shakata Asura, who had remained hidden behind a cart in the house of Yashoda Mayi. And when he was crawling and was disturbing his mother from doing household affairs, the mother tied him with a grinding pestle, but the naughty child dragged the pestle up to a pair of very high Arjuna trees in the yard of mother of Yashoda Mayi. And when the pestle was stuck between the pair of trees, they fell down with a horrible sound. When Yashoda Mayi came to see the happenings, she thought that her child had been saved from the falling trees by the mercy of the Lord, without knowing that the Lord himself, crawling in her yard, had wreaked the havoc. So that is the way of reciprocation of love affairs between the Lord and his devotees. Yashoda Mayi wanted to have the Lord as her child, and the Lord played exactly like a child in her lap, but at the same time played the part of the Almighty Lord whenever it was so required. The beauty of such pastimes was that the Lord fulfilled everyone's desire. In the case of felling the gigantic Arjuna trees, the Lord's mission was to deliver the 2 sons of Kuvera, who were condemned to become trees by the curse of Narada, as well as to play like a crawling child in the yard of Yashoda, who took transcendental pleasure in seeing such activities of the Lord in the very yard of her home. The Lord, in any condition, is Lord of the universe, and he can act as such in any form, gigantic or small, as he likes. Okena jiva haranam yadulukikaya straimasikasya chapada shakato parvritta yadringatantara gatena divis prishorva unmulanam tvitaratha juna nabhavyam. Translation: there is no doubt about Lord Krishna's being the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, how is it possible for him to kill a giant demon like Putana when he was just on the lap of his mother, to overturn a cart with his leg when he was only 3 months old, to uproot a pair of Arjuna trees so high that they touched the sky when he was only crawling? All these activities are impossible for anyone other than the Lord himself. So God is always God. He cannot be manufactured in the factory of the mind. This is the fashion of less intelligent persons. These persons are described in Bhagavad Gita that they have their knowledge stolen, or they are less intelligent. They worship demigods. Persons in the mode of passion actually worship some human being. They're interested to get some benefits, so they make some ordinary human being on the platform of God, and they may be able to derive something from that. But ultimately, that process is only going to produce suffering. Somebody who's very intelligent will take the word of Srimad Bhagavatam and Lord Sri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, and he will worship the Lord who's the source of everything, always. So it's stated that the Lord has always existed. That chapter 2, text 12 of Bhagavad Gita states that the Lord always existed, as well as did every other living entity. This is also confirmed in the Upanishads that Nityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam Eko Bahunam Yo Vididhati Kaman, that this one person is the source of all the unlimited persons who are without number, but he's the person who's fulfilling all the desires of everyone. Right? So we all want some desires fulfilled. That's natural. In our pure state, we desire purely. That's called prema. Kama is when we desire material sense enjoyment. And prema is when we desire to serve the senses of the transcendental personality of Godhead. There are 3/4 of the persons are trying to serve the Lord's senses, and 1/4 of the persons in existence are trying to serve their own senses. And we're part of that minority group. We're unfortunate, but we've been made fortunate to hear about the pastimes of the Lord from the right source, and we're executing devotional service founded upon hearing and chanting under the guidance of the bona fide parampara system. Lord Brahma and his party have entered this material universe and have been engaged by the Lord to reclaim the fallen conditioned souls. And anybody in this parampara is naturally engaged in reclaiming the fallen souls. And this party is a very glorious party. We give all glories to this parampara, and we worship them on the altar. Very important function in our temples, which there's a transcendental system to the organization of the altar, which is actually encouraging and reinforcing the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. Whereas you see other altars, it's a little bit, hodgepodge, something going on. This Bob over here, this demigod over here, this Murti here, this there, this there, this there, right? But actually, that is subtly encouraging this type of mood. Yeah, they're all God. It's all one. It's just my altar. Just put a bunch of personalities up on my altar, and then I worship God. But in the transcendental parampara system of Brahma, Gaudiya, Madhva, Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya Sampradaya, there's a system. And actually, there's elaborate process. So we have a reinforcement of the philosophy. The philosophy that is being extolled here in this purport and in this verse is that the Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Yashoda Nandana, this baby darling child of Mother Yashoda, he is the supreme personality of Godhead. He's the topmost. That's actually confirmed in the seed verses of the Bhagavad Gita, as well as the seed verses in the Srimad Bhagavatam. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, there's seed verses where Lord Krishna himself is the speaker of the seed verses of the Bhagavatam. And he's declaring there, I am the actual person who's the source of everything that exists. And he gives the details about devotional service like that he existed before the creation and after the creation, during the creation, like that. So there's many verses in the scriptures which actually reaffirm these points. And if one has actually studied the scriptures, he should understand that the Lord Krishna is to be known. Vedaisya sarvar aham eva vedyo. He's to be known by the Vedas. But it's stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam also that by studying the Vedas, you can actually understand that because he keeps himself hidden. Right? He said, I'm not revealed to the envious. Right? Naham prakasha sarvasya yogamaya samavrita. I'm covered by my yogamaya curtain. Right? And then that's also stated. The pure devotee saying, take that out of there. I don't want that between you and I. I want to know your personality. I want to serve you with love and devotion eternally, because that's who you're worthy of being served. And I am constitutionally the servant of your servants. So there's nothing else for me to do. I don't want to be, and I don't want any impediments. And what's amazing is the desire of the devotee is the means by which he can attain that goal. Not by our own strength can we actually engage in service. But through knowledge, the Lord is satisfying that desire. We desire, through knowledge, we desire better, improved desire. It's not that I stop desiring, it's that now I desire. Let me hear and chant and serve and worship this person, Lord Krishna, who's killing the Shakatasura demon, 3 months old, with a flick of his leg. He breaks the whole cart to pieces. And they didn't build things cheap back then, like now. And they were high class. Mother Yashoda, Nanda Maharaj. It's not like they're going to put Krishna in a cart that's going to fall apart. Like us, we get some, super cheap, this or that China, manufacturer thing. And we put our baby in there and there may be a recall because the thing fell apart and baby got hurt or something. But they were craftsmen. They were expert. So he kicks the cart, the whole thing is destroyed, and he knocks down the Arjuna trees. Right? They are so high that they touch the sky. And the baby Krishna, Lord Krishna, he's pulling the mortar, right? Or the mortar, pestle. It's a type of a, we see it. It's arranged in such a way. It's a stand with the surface on top, which is curved and rounded so that you can put objects, usually spices and other things, in the top, and then you rub it against the smooth surface and it becomes a powder. Right? So there's different types of pestles, mortars, and things like that. You can get a stone one and you turn it and it grinds it. It mills the stone with this like a stone wheel, and somehow it turns that. But this was a certain type. It's a stand, so you can stand up and grind these spices and different things like that. So he gets that. He's bound around the waist, and then he pulls that. Baby Krishna's pulling that mortar, which is practically impossible for a child. Or else, why would Mother Shoda bind him to that? It's not like she tied him to a stick and now he's dragging around a little stick. You know, she tied him to something which she practically determined is immovable by this child. Else, what is the point of tying him to that? So she knew what she was doing. That's why it's miraculous. What's amazing to me is that many persons are very powerful, but we don't hear of any such pastimes, leelas, like these. Sometimes I think, okay, Krishna advented, right? There was a transference from the mind of Vasudeva to the mind of Devaki, and then the Lord manifested from Devaki. After that, in his Vishnu Murti, he was as in four-armed form, and he was bedecked with all types of jewels and ornaments and amazing opulence, right? And we also hear other great personalities like Karna also were born with some ornaments. But the ornamentation on the Lord's body is unique in the whole universe. And the features of the Lord's body are unique. And they're described in the scriptures that the persons containing those features in total, right? That person is Krishna. That person is Vishnu, right? So the certain details of Krishna's pastimes actually separate him from the rest of the people. But even these pastimes, you know, even though there may be other great personalities, these are specifically unique because he was a child. Of course, you know, some of the other great personalities also did things when they were a child, you know, but these things are special. So all these activities are impossible for anyone other than the Lord himself. What's amazing is that by the Lord's grace, devotees can also do the impossible. Right? Impossible, you know, the word here is nabhavyam. It's not possible. Right? But for the Lord, there is nothing impossible because his desire is automatically executed by his unlimited energies. Parasya shaktir vividhai vashruyate. That his desire alone is automatically executed. This is what's really interesting. You can have a desire. Oh, I want a car. Right? But it's not that you just have it. What's amazing is that if you learn through knowledge, whatever I want is there within the person of the Lord. Then all your desires are filled with one stroke. Because your intelligence isn't many branched. Eko ha kurunandana. That the person, Vyavasayatmika Buddh here, Ekeha Kurunandana. He knows, he's got fixed intelligence, and he knows that serving the Lord and associating with the Lord is the highest goal. To love him in pure love, that is the highest goal. Right? Prema, Premo, Pramarto Mahan. I forgot how. So Putana came to kill Krishna, she was killed. Shakatasura came to kill Krishna, he was killed. The devotees, or these two demigods, were cursed by Narada to witness the pastimes of Krishna and to be delivered by Krishna, and Krishna also delivered them. So he is Mukunda, only he can do such wonderful acts and deliver the demons by his contact with them. And we can also be purified. As soon as somebody chants Krishna, Hare Krishna, even one time, even though they're actually mocking us, liberated. It's that potent. Now, we don't want to be just liberated. We want prema. So we know that process, that takes a lot of work. We need the mercy. So we have to get the mercy through the scientific process of Vaidhi Bhakti up to Raganuga Bhakti and beyond. We progress systematically through this process, and then we can enter into these pastimes with Krishna. We can witness these pastimes in every universe, wherever he goes. If that is our desire and that is his will, then we can be with him in all those leelas, if he so desires. And until that point, we execute our devotional service under the strict guidance of the spiritual master. And we're happy to be part of this team, to be able to share our love for Krishna through this teamwork that we have, right? Whatever feelings we have, whatever emotions we have for Krishna, let us channel that and work as a team to serve Krishna and satisfy the spiritual master more and more and more. It's a cooperation. It's a federation. It's a society, international society. It's a fraternity. It's a family that we're a part of. And Krishna's the center, right? Krishna and his pure devotees are the center. And we're all the insignificant servants begging to be a particle of dust, begging to have the dust of the pure devotees on our heads, begging to serve the spiritual master and the Vaishnavas. Let us perform our Sankirtan. So, thank you very much, devotees. Please forgive me for any offenses or inappropriate statements or tone of voice and the like. Thank you so much. Does anybody, would anybody like to say something? Would anybody like to make a prayer? Okay. Shishi Gornitai, Srila Prabhupada, Tulsi Maharani, Lord Nrsimhadev, Vaishnava Acharyas. If you so desire, please bless all of us that we can cooperate with full enthusiasm to spread the Sankirtan movement under the guidance of Srila Prabhupada. Thank you for considering our request. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.